Hello, members of the City Council. My name is Justine Dancer. I'm here to talk to you today about fire prevention. Start off with their 3 E's of fire prevention. They are education, engineering, and enforcement. Education is the first and foremost important way to spread information of fire prevention in the community. Following the Community Risk Reduction Program, your daily operational fire department will send out firefighters door to door to promote fire prevention methods. These methods can include smoke alarms, information on what to do when a fire starts in the home, fire prevention measures such as fire suppression systems. With how far we have come as a society, education on fire prevention has reached farther than just going door to door. Nowadays, we have social media, town hall meetings, schools to educate kids, not just adults, in this community. Now, the importance of engineering in fire prevention is that it brings in different ways of eliminating or reducing fire hazards in construction, whether it is new construction or existing buildings. The International Building Code is the commonly used method here in the U.S. for these situations. Every local fire department is responsible for administering and enforcing fire prevention codes, which are provided by the IBC. Many of these chapters in the IBC pertain to building occupants, heights of the buildings, egress, access, as well as interior finishes inside of a building. Now, engineering is a type of control. These controls are used for many different reasons and ways, but the engineering control changes the way fire prevention is used to improve safety. Now we go on to talk about the third and final E, enforcement. Enforcement includes inspections and codes that are essential for maintaining a safe fire operation in new and existing buildings. Inspections are crucial to ensure code enforcement is not only being followed but adhered to in the community. Fire inspectors from every local fire department has a duty and responsibility to their community, and even being known by their community. Not many people know who their fire inspector is. Enforcement of fire codes, it's more than just about fines to businesses. It's about the safety and well-being of our community. Now, when a new construction is introduced into the city of Mebane, like the new Buc-ee's, code enforcement is implemented by the adoption method. In a city like Mebane, this jurisdiction enforces packages of codes that are based off the IBC. Mebane will adhere to adopting any code necessary for a safer community. Now, with new construction, using the adoption method, existing buildings in this jurisdiction are generally grandfathered in, unless they go into renovation. Renovations or changes in the use of the building will cause the building to be brought up to the current codes enforced in this jurisdiction. Repairs or a change in occupancy, they will be also notified to the city's fire inspector. Repairs, any kind of thing like that, the fire inspector is responsible for compliance enforcement for the said building making any type of change. Now, when you talk about all these changes to existing buildings, questions can arise about who determines how safe these materials are in terms of fire resistance, whether it's in existing buildings or new construction. Who tests these products? The National Fire Protection Association is one, your local fire department, like the Mebane Fire Department, and organizations who have testing labs and help determine fire resistance of building materials through those testing labs. SGS America is an organization that is used here in this county for lab testing equipment and materials to ensure compliance with fire codes. So the National Fire Protection Association's program approval is widely recognized, but it doesn't have to be them. They don't have to be the only ones used to test products and materials. It looks better, though, when it comes from them. Now, some might ask, what are these tests that these organizations even conduct on the building materials? Fire ratings. Fire ratings are determined by the ASTM E119, ASTM E84, non-combustibility tests, or even flammability tests. Those are four of the main tests, and the ASTM E119 test is the most standard test. It tests material on how long it can endure exposure to fire, all the while it maintains its structural integrity. It also has materials tested on how long, after hours of fire exposure, to a stream from a fire hose to test the structural integrity afterwards of all that. Now, the ASTM E84 is a testing method to determine burning behavior of materials inside the building on the interior surfaces. This helps determine spread of flame and smoke index of the materials being used. Now, depending on the type of building being constructed, there are many other specific types of testing on materials or possible situations, depending on the occupants. But to go even further, fire safety standards in America fall on code enforcement to ensure the most safety is achieved for all patrons in the establishments of the community. The community relies on these fire tests. The fire department relies on these fire ratings tests. The code enforcement is more about just finding the violations to give fines to the owners. Following these code enforcements is going to ensure a safe community. Now, you might ask, what could be so unsafe that code enforcement has such a pivotal role in fire safety in the community? Well, a lot of fire hazards come in different areas, sizes, and shapes. I mean, any building in this community that lacks any means of egress can be a seriously unsafe building to enter. Buildings that are poorly constructed with unsafe materials have a higher probability of going up into flames and spreading faster in these buildings. Any building that lacks a fire suppression system is a risky building that only trained professionals should really enter. And on top of these fire hazards, there are also many structural hazards that contribute to fire hazards. These different type of occupants are important for the fire inspector and fire marshals to be aware of in the community. Take the empty buildings here on Clay Street. One of them is empty due to lack of occupants, but people walk by it and you can tell that it needs some upgrades to security, but not just security, but the structural. It's an old building. A building that becomes easily accessible to people who are less cordial can also become a community hazard. But with all that being said, plans review and structural control in terms of new construction are important for fire marshals to take part in. The fire marshal is responsible for looking over plans while working with contractors, engineers, electricians, any other trade that might be involved in new construction. Once these permits are distributed, it is up to the Fire Prevention Department of Mebane to keep up with the inspections and the final inspection. So once the final inspection is completed, the occupants are given the green light to open at their discretion. But once they open, they are not immune to not following code enforcement past their final inspection. They must keep adhering to their fire code enforcement. Now, in the end of this, fire prevention saves lives. It's important, and it's important to feel safe in your community. Thank you.